Greetings, today a teardown, and today for a teardown I've got a mobile phone, and it's an unusual mobile phone, not so popular. It's this, it's called Elephone P8000 to be precise, and Elephone is one of those emerging Chinese manufacturers that are trying to take the market by storm by releasing well equipped actually cheap or inexpensive mobile phones. And it's been damaged, the screen smashed. So the phone is no good anymore, but it will still possibly make an interesting teardown to see how this thing looks inside, to see how it's made, and what sort of interesting things we can find. So let's get to it. Here is the phone. As you can see, the screen is smashed, so that's no good, and it's got some water damage. It was out in the rain. Let's see this Chinese phone inside and see what sort of quality is been applied over here. Now it's the bezel, the around of the phone is metal, which is nice. It's the phone feels nice in the hand, and the back has got this fake gold carbon fiber thing, and I'm not a fan of that. Paint on here is not that good of a quality because it rubbed off on the edge. We've got some little Phillips screws all over the place, a battery that's technically non-removable. Don't dismantle or decompose the battery. Okay, I've got my lovely set of tiny screwdrivers over here. So yeah, those are good for special occasions. Let's begin. It's worth noting this has got a huge battery, 4 amp hours, 4000 milliamp hours, so that's a really big battery as far as mobile phone goes. A really nice touch. They've actually put thread lock on the screws holding the phone all the way around, so that's really nice. And here is the last screw, the warranty void if removed one, with the Elephone sticker on it, which is very delicate, and as you can see, yeah, it disintegrates when trying to remove it. It looks like something's holding it still where the fingerprint sensor is. Aha, there it is. So there is one more screw underneath. The fingerprint sensor is just put on with a sticky tape. So one more time, and yes, it does come out. We've got a little plastic surround and that contains the antennas. There's 3 antennas actually. One of them is probably Wi-Fi, one is GSM, and one is Bluetooth. A speaker over here with little gold contacts that made with contacts over here on this side, and all the gold contacts that contact with little pins on the board for the antennas. We've got the metal shield for the battery, so the battery is kind of removable, but yeah, not straightforward. You have to remove a few screws and break the warranty sticker. Yes, rated 4000 milliamp hours, typical 4165, 15.8 watt hours. So this is a huge battery. Now I'm not sure what state is this one in, because over here you can see here is a sticker. It's one of those that changes color if something's been exposed to moisture, and this is all red, so that means that this phone was completely wet, and there is more evidence of that all over the place. So this has been soaked. The battery is technically sealed, so that's a salvageable part, I guess. First let's remove this fingerprint sensor that comes off on its own flat flex. Sunwin 251 SV2. This is the battery connector. So look at this special connector that they've made over here. Of course, with those things you want to be somewhat careful not to pierce this, so I wouldn't use something like this to try to pry it apart. I'm just going to use a piece of plastic wedge to try to get at it, but with a little bit of careful prying it can be done. And here is the battery. Battery seems not swollen, in fairly good condition. There is a protection board on here. Okay, we have a little coax connector from board to board. This board here doesn't seem to have any screws, but this one here, from what I see, there is one. Let's get this board out. That's for the buttons. Okay, that's the front-facing camera that's been attached with the shielding tape. Again, it's branded Sunwin AO6245 51QB V1. One more connector, the main camera. And the board, the main board. Everything interesting is under a can, so we'll have to take that off in a moment. Okay, here is a chip on flex. Okay, there is more screws, so there's one here. Okay, let's get that out and see what happens. Oh, not much, that's just a connector. Markings on the board MT823K551. Okay, here we have a vibration motor. On a sticky pad. And this other board should, with the USB, technically should come out right now. Yep, it's all on a sticky pad. This connector went to the flat flex, but there was those two pins that connect to the board, and it's all corroded in here. So yeah, this is why you shouldn't get your phone wet. I'm sure the front screen is held only by glue. This is very common from all the manufacturers, so I can just, because it's already damaged, I can just try to apply some excessive force. Okay, there it is. So we've got the screen out, and as I said, it's only held by a double-sided foamy tape. Interesting, the case is made out of two materials, so this is some sort of metal alloy, but they've also injected plastic into it, and you can see they've made all those little shapes like this, so when they inject the plastic into it, it locks in. Here is what appears as a switch, and that goes, yes, that goes to here. So this is what was connected to the little board. Okay, here is the earpiece, and the camera sitting very firmly in the, I know it's on glue, there we go, but it was a very strong piece of glue. And here is the camera again, Sunwin AH6245 51QA and the only thing that's left in here is the three switches, which again, there we go, popped out easily. They were held with a little bit of sticky tape, and they are tiny, absolutely tiny switches on flex with some aluminium backing, so it's a little bit stiffer. And now there's nothing left in this apart from the case itself. I just realized this little board over here was not a switch, it was just a backlight, and there's a little LED in here for the switch over, for the touch button over here. Yeah, there wasn't a physical switch in here, it's just capacitive sensing. So that little board was just providing backlight for the center pad. That's coming apart just a little bit more than I wanted. Yeah, that's not going too well. So yeah, you can see there's still moisture inside, and we've got the usual arrangements of what you'll find in any LCD in terms of backlight. This has split the LCD in half. This is a little bit of porous, so this is where the individual cells of the LCD were, and we've split that, so obviously that's wet, that's got liquid crystals solution on here. A board of LEDs, the side emitting LEDs, so those will light up the bottom of the screen, and then through this it disperses the light all the way across. Here is the damaged LCD. You can see some markings on the, and then some structures which look like maybe some transistors or lane or column drivers, or maybe that's something to do with the capacitive sensing. And here is the LCD itself, and you can almost see the structure of the individual pixels. I'm having this close up with a macro lens on, so it's magnified quite a bit. And some more tracks, and you can see collateral damage. And here is some more beautiful structures on a blue background. It looks pretty and shiny. TP204300W V0A1. Here is a good view of the screen complete in the corner, and then the top glass is broken off and you've got the middle bit and all this moisture in here. This is the liquid crystals in suspension. You can also see those little dots in the pattern that are a little bit further apart than individual pixels, and normally you can see those actually. When you look at your screen at a right angle on any mobile phone, you can see those dots. This is just a glue residue, and there are some on there. Now you can see those dots really well. It seems like those are to keep the liquid crystal just the right spacing between the two plates. Those are a little bumps, so maybe they just prevent the two pieces of glass being squished together too much. Here is the little USB connector board, so the one that was at the bottom of the phone. We've got date code 44th week 2015, and here is the USB connector, and you can see over here all the water damage. This silver thing that you see on the left is a microphone, probably, and here are the little pogo pins. Let me see if I can push it down. Yeah, so they're little springy pogo pins. And motor, which is this? That's the vibration, tiny little vibration motor. Here is the main camera module, Sunwin AH6245, and here we've got the camera, and I've managed to, I was trying to see if I can pull the metal backing, the casing off, but it turns out it separated itself from the sensor. And here is the camera sensor, and you can see it's been gold wire bonded over to this, the flat flex, and then this just the lens assembly, which is here, just sits on top of it. The lens assembly looks like an eye actually, but the sensor changes colors depending on the angle that you look at it. This is probably 5 or 8 or maybe 12 megapixel camera. The pixel count on this would be, well, no, it is absolutely ridiculous. So on such a small piece of semiconductor to have so much structure is amazing. So yeah, beautiful piece. The features on the silicon are so small that those are actually causing the light to refract in different ways. That's why it's changing the color. And here is the front-facing camera with its connector, flat flex, and I decided to deal with it in a similar way. So here it is. And again, we've got lots of miniature wire bonds happening over to the flex and going to the connector. It's a double-sided flex, so there's quite a lot of connectors on the other side. On the top of the board that we're looking at, there seems to be only a few. There's like 5 lines going out, most of it which is taken by grounding plane. But again, yeah, this is, even though it's a small megapixel count, it's still quite pretty and color changing. And here is the lens with the infrared filter over here. So it's a complete lens assembly. There's at least 2 or 3 lenses in here, plus the filter. Okay, despite of me trying really hard, I'm still making a mess. But let's look at the main board. So the whole powerhouse, so all the processing, the main processor, everything else is sitting on here. And let's see, what have we got? So we've got this copper top plane, which is covered in a weird tape. I'm wondering, has this got something to do with heat dissipation? I would think so. And this tape is probably somewhat thermally conductive. It's a weird feeling tape. And then we've got the thermal pads on here that are attaching onto the main chips. And there is one more can which I will remove brutally. Okay, let's look at this closer. So what you're looking at right now is a proximity sensor. So this little thing with two lenses. And moving on, let's go around the board. Not much happening here. And here we've got one massive chip, BGA. This KMR31000BA. I'll have a look at this. Probably memory, I would think. And here is the main processor, Mediatek MT6758, octa-core processor, ARM Cortex core. And we've got MT6328V, which is a second chip of the chipset. And here we've got an interesting part. I've seen that before in a mobile phone. I wasn't sure what that is, like the bit that you see in the middle. But what I think it is, please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the MEMS accelerometer or gyroscope. So this little thing here, A541N. So let's scratch off the tiny writing on this. I know it will come off, and as you can see, there is a very minute structure inside. So let's see if we can get closer. And here is the object quite close, and I'm using some additional lighting with my flashlight to show different features, because this is really close right now to the camera. But you can see there is an interesting structure inside. So there is almost like a tuning fork. I remember last time I've seen something like this. I spent quite a bit of time trying to look up the number, but no luck. So if you know what it is and if you can confirm, please do leave a comment. But it's a really interesting part, something you don't see every day. And it's ridiculously small. Here are the tweezers for a comparison. So those tweezers are reasonably sharp. They certainly are poking through the finger if you misuse them. But look at the comparison. Okay, moving on from here, we've got some passives, some diodes, another chip which is ETA 6005, it seems. Another tiny package. And moving under the can that was completely covering this piece, we've got another Mediatek chip. And this is not Mediatek. I'm not sure what that is. A quick look, but if you're curious, please go ahead and do look it up. Next to it, we've got another interesting thing. Is that a diode? Okay, no, it's not a diode. It's just a part in an interesting package. I'm not sure what it is. 7WRKOW. And there's another part with the same logo as this one. There are lots of vias that have been soldered, but it looks like there is a bunch of components missing, but no, I'm sure that was intended that way. On the other side of the board, it's not much interesting in here. We've got a date code, 43rd week 2015 over here, and that's about it. There's an interesting logo which looks like a tiger, maybe, not too sure. and not much interesting. There was a little can over here, but there's just a tiny BGA underneath, the diode for the camera flash, and that's about it. It's just this memory card slots, SIM card slots, and so on. There's actually one more can. There it is. One more Mediatek 6525LN, I think. But thank you very much for joining me on this one-way journey with a broken Elephone P8000. I hope you enjoyed it and saw a couple of interesting things. For this video, that's going to be it, I'm afraid. There isn't much more I can tear apart. So please do subscribe for more random electronics related stuff. Give me a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and for the time being, take care.